Good morning, everyone. Those who are still having coffee outside, please join us. And we just want to start our last day of Epic 46, the important day, starting with policy SIG sessions and followed by annual members meeting. And today's first agenda is actually NRONC election and followed by RC review committee election. And I'll request Sunny to conduct the election first, and then we'll start the actual policy session after that. Thank you. I'll request the policy co-chair, Burton and Ching Hang, to join the stage.
Good morning, all. I'm Sunny Chendi from the Secretariat, and I'm here to go through the procedures for the NRONC elections that we're having today. So we have one vacant seat, and I'm not able to see the slides here. Yep, thank you. One vacant seat on NRONC. It's a 2-year term. It starts from 1st January 2019 to 31st December 2020. Call for nominations opened on 7 June and closed on 8 August 2018. Online and on-site voting was made available, and that was the URL. Online voting was for the members via their MyEPINIC portal, and the voting period started on 28 August 2018, and it was closed on Tuesday 11th September 2018. The New Caledonian time of 9 a.m. On-site voting, which is today, each registered EPINIC 46 attendee is entitled to 1 vote as an individual. You need to have your badge to show to the voting desk. Voting period starts as announced by the election chair. I'll soon will be inviting the election chair to come up once I finish my presentation. The voting will ends at 2 o'clock. Local time, there's a New Caledonian time, and which is this afternoon. Ballot box is placed at the voting desk after the election chair announces the opening of on-site voting. This is the ballot paper that you will all receive from the voting desk, and you have options on that. And the declaration of results will be announced at 3 p.m. in the EPINIC member meeting. That is this afternoon. The election chair will also disclose any notice of any disputes and resolutions, disclose of any communication from the election scrutineers regarding any anomalies or issues. Declaration of results will be tallied, and this is the tally sheet, and will be presented at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Now, the 2018 NRONC election chair is, as appointed by the executive committee, is Perrine Dulin to foresee these elections, and my colleagues George Koo and Connie Chan as election officers, again appointed by the executive committee, Jake Flint and Tom Doe as election tellers appointed by the EC, and Michael Abejula and Nicholas Pediatis as election scrutineers appointed by the election chair. Notice of disputes, if any, can be lodged. Any complaint regarding the conduct of the election must be lodged in writing with the election chair at the conference and be lodged no later than 1 hour before the scheduled declaration of the election. The declaration of election is 3 p.m., so any complaints or need to be lodged 2 p.m., before 2 p.m. Notices may only be lodged by nominees or members through their authorized voting representatives. The election chair shall resolve the dispute at her discretion. So now I invite Perrine to come up on the stage and invite the attendees for speech.
Thank you, Sunny. Good morning, everybody. My name is Perrine Dalluin. I'm the CEO of Intelia, who is a telecom integrator based in New Caledonia here. I'm honored to serve as the election chair of the NRO-NC election today. I'm going to invite the nominees up to share their vision with you and introduce themselves to you. After that, I will open the ballot box, which is here, and show you that there is nothing inside the ballot box. Then George Q and I will take the box outside to the voting desk, and that's where the voting will start. In the order of the 16 nominations received, I would like to introduce the nominees to you. First nominee is Hamad Nadim. The second nominee is Solomon Wesley Shua. Third nominee is Ashan Habib Brian Rumi. Fourth nominee is Connie Boris Makada. Fifth nominee is Hyoma Yamamoto. Sixth nominee is Manor Adhikari. The seventh nominee is Muhammad Madoud Ahmed. The eighth nominee is Min Lei. The ninth nominee is Mubashar Shazad. The 10th nominee is Mohammed Zakirul Islam. The 11th nominee is Tashi Puncho. The 12th nominee is Anwar Ahmed. The 13th nominee is Sanula Somro. The 14th nominee is Mohammed Mahadbud Yohaman. The 15th nominee is Vicente Kalag. The 16th nominee is Rajesh Jain. Unfortunately, the first 14 nominees are unable to come, and they have not provided any statements. But you can see their profiles on the election website. Next, I would like to invite the 15th nominee, Vicente Kalag, to come to make a brief statement. You will have 2 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank everyone. I would like to thank EPINIC for having me here. First, I would like to introduce myself. I am Vicente Kalag from the Philippines. My interest is that I wish to contribute. I would like to help and see to it that our numbers or our resources will be distributed equitably in different network information centers. And I think this will be, I will be happy if I could be of help, and if you think I could contribute, your support will be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vicente. Finally, I would like to invite Rajesh Jain to come to the mic to make a brief statement.
Bonjour, good morning. I thank you all for electing me as member NRO-NC, known as ASOAC in ICANN, for 2017-18 term. by community at EPNIC 42, Colombo. I have worked to contribute in ASOAC meetings and activities and put in efforts for good relationship with other RIR members of ASOAC. ASOAC selected me for NOMCOM 2018 and recently again for NOMCOM 2019. I have BTech Electronics Engineering degree from IIT Banaras. Presently, I am Vice President, ISP Association of India and former Director on board of NICSI. I participated in person with more than 15 ICANN meetings over last decade, regularly attending and contributing to EPNIC, SANOG, etc. I am associated with telecom community for nearly 4 decades and with internet since its starting in India in 1999. I once again commit to work and represent in RNC as per EPNIC processes, guidelines, and community view. I have time, energy, and believe capability to continue work as required by an RONC. I stand here to seek your guidance and support. Thank you. Mercy.
Thank you, Brajesh. We will move on to the next stage, and that is the opening of the ballot box to show that it is empty. It is empty. There is nothing inside. So George will seal it now. And George and I will take it to the voting desk just outside this conference hall. I would like to declare the election opened, and the ballot box will be kept outside and supervised by the election tellers. Voting ends at 2 p.m. UTC plus 11 today. Thank you.
Okay, the next one is INRC elections. Once I get my slides up, I'll start. All right, thank you. So this is INRC responsibilities, advise and assist the number resource organization in its periodic review of the service level of the IANA numbering services provided to the Internet number community. Report to the NROEC any concerns regarding the performance of the IANA numbering services operator, including any observed failure or near failure by the IANA numbering services operator to meet its obligations under the service level agreement. Does not have any power to commit the NROEC to any recommendation or decision made by it, except where and to extent that it has expressed delegated authority from the NROEC. We have 3 members from each RIR, that's 15 in total. From APNIC region, we have 1 APNIC staff is a non-voting member of the committee, and 1 appointed by the APNIC Executive Council, and 1 elected by the APNIC community in this room right here. The code of conduct is act honestly, consistently, and fairly in accordance with the law. Act in good faith in the best interest of the Internet community and at all times. Avoid any conflicts or potential conflicts of interest. Not make any improper use of information of their position. Now, all these are listed on the NRONC website if you want to have a look at it later. The current RC members' term finish end of this year, And the current members are Burton Cherrier, who is sitting here as a co-chair. Simon Sohail Baroi must be somewhere in the audience. The call for nominations was sent to the Policy SIG and APNIC talk on 17th of August this year. And we closed the nominations on 7th September, just before the conference. And the term is 2 years, starting from 2019, January 2019. Election procedures, same as the SIG procedures. A candidate must be present in the room. Candidates have 2 minutes to speak if they are in the room. Voting is by those present in the room, and it will be by show of hands, and my colleagues will count the show of hands. And the candidate with the larger number of counts is elected. By the time we closed the nominations, we received 2 nominations, Burton Cherrier and Simon Sohail Baroi, the current members. But this morning, early this morning, Simon withdrew his nomination, so we unanimously declare Burton as the IANA RC member from this region. Thank you, Burton. The community is asking for your speech, if you like to. I didn't say anything about it. Thank you, Chair.
Bonjour. Good morning, everyone. The IANA ASC position is not giving me a lot of work, which is a good thing, but it's still very important for the work to be done really properly, because this review committee has a mission to fulfill, and it has to be done properly. The only problem with this job is it's always very late at night because of my situation in New Caledonia. So far, it's been easy to do, and I was just following the leads of other people present for numerous years. So I wish I will be able to continue and do the best job I can for this position. Thank you all.
Congratulations, Burton, for elected as a RC member, and please vote for NRNC. I think voting close at 2. It's also very important in the policy development process in our region and globally. So please vote. So let's now start to the main policy session, and I will start with some significant slides, and then we'll move to today's agenda. And it is the first ASOS report by Mr. Brajesh Jain, and it will be followed by ARIN PDP discussion from Tina Morris. And we'll have one policy to discuss this morning is Prop 118, no need policy in ethnic region. We have been discussing this policy in earlier meetings, and again, we'll be discussing this if we can reach consensus about that. And in the second 6 sessions that after tea break, policy session 2, we have 3 new policy to discuss. One is clarification of IP6 sub-assignment by Jody Pallet, Prop 124, and another proposal, Prop 125, validation of abuse mailbox and other IRT emails, jointly proposed by Jody Pallet Martinez and Abdul Siddiqui. And lastly, Prop 126, that is PDP update by Jody Pallet Martinez. So here is 6 charters, what we do. Our role here is to develop policies and procedures, which relates to the IP address or internet resource management and use of internet resources in ethnic region, NIR and ISPs within the Asia Pacific region. So if you want to be part of the discussion, please enroll yourself in SIG policy at epinic.net mailing list. And you can get detail about policy SIG in www.epinic.net, so at policy-SIG. So who's who? Presently, I'm Shuman Sabit, chairing policies SIG, and with a very good support to my co-chairs, Bhartan Sharier and Ching Han Ku. And also I must mention that NRNC, SOAC also playing a very important role in the policy development process. Aptab Siddiqui, Brajesh Jain, and Henry Kasifi for their contribution here. And are you here in the audience? Brajesh is there. Aptab? Aptab is there. Henry? Not here. And thank you very much for your contribution. And here are the steps how we implement new policies. So any community member can submit their proposal. If they want to add something, modify something, or change anything, you can propose your policy. And it then moves to the mailing list for discussion. And based on that discussion, we sit here for policy SIG meeting. And after discussion, modification, finally, if it is consensus, then it moves to the AMM for consensus again. If it reaches consensus there in the AMM, then after a certain comment period, it's endorsed it, and then again goes for a usual comment period, and finally it gets implemented by the Secretariat, and it depends on the complexity of policy. Implement starts immediately. How we get consensus? Consensus is basically general agreement, and taking consider in every comment, in the mailing list, in the meeting, and finally, if we can reach to a general agreement, then we call it a consensus. There might be some objections, and it might be minor objections or major objection, depending on how it's affecting the community or any individual. And then participants try to work together to resolve the conflict, if there are any, and then we again go for the consensus. And our code of conduct in the link below. And gauging consensus, we really welcome remote participation. And those who are participating remotely can use Confer, confer.epinic.net, and you need to sign in there, and you can raise your voice there and how actually you want to see the proposal. And while gauging consensus, we definitely take consideration of the mailing discussions, what already happened, discussions in the OPM, comments from the remote participants, and finally, show of hands in this room. And also the result we're getting from the Confer. So if you're an EPIC member, and if you already registered to My EPIC, you can use the same account to log into Confer. If you're not an EPIC member, but if you already registered for the EPIC 45, you can use the same account to log in. Or you can create the new account, and you can create your new account, and you can vote. You can participate in the consensus process. If you forgot password, there's a link for that. You can change your password, and you can log into the Confer system. Here is some references so that the policy development processes, the guidelines, Confer. You can also go to the archive of the mailing list where discussion already have been done in the mailing list archive. And you can subscribe to the mailing list at www.epinic.net/policy-email-subscribe. So that's from the administrative sides. And in the earlier meetings, we have discussed a few policies which has been withdrawn, didn't reach consensus in those meetings, and the proposers actually withdrawn their proposals. Prop 119 about temporary transfer, Prop 120 final/8 full exemption plan, and Prop 123 modify 103/8 IPv4 transfer policy. So all three processes are withdrawn, so we'll not be discussing this in this meeting. And that is from me for the administrative slides. And now I will request Mr. Brajesh Jain to come forward and present SOAC report.
Thanks, Suman. Good morning again. Can you give the slide, please? This is an ASOAC update. All of you are generally familiar, but for those who are new, it is NRO Number Council. It is Number Resources Policy Advisory Body. It is organized. There are 15 members, 3 from each regions, 2 elected by community, like the one which is happening today, 1 appointed by RIR board. In addition to these 15 members, there are RIR and ICANN observers. Among them, our board members elected by ASOAC to the ICANN, they also become part of this term of office. RIRs choose their own terms. They're typically 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. It advises ICANN board on internet number matters, select ICANN board to seat 9 and seat 10, select representative to ICANN bodies, for example, NOMCOM or Telephonic. We meet every month, typically first Wednesday, and face-to-face meeting is once every year. And this also in typically first ICANN meeting of the year. Now, ASOAC, after these 15 members are there, they elect ASOAC chair every year in December as per procedure, open nomination, and if necessary, online confidential vote ballot. ASOAC chair facilitates selection of 2 vice chairs in ASOAC first meeting in January. Term for chair and vice chairs is 1 year. This shows the list of all the 15 members at present. I would just like that this year we are lucky for our ethnic representative Aftab Siddiqui as chair. Aftab, if you are there, let us acknowledge you. He is the chairing. And of course myself there, and Henry is there. And other reasons you can see the list later. One of the policy which was discussed was that we would show the attendance of the ASOAC members just as a feedback to each of us. So this is the formal record by Secretariat for all of us. 2018, now ASO, we know that there is ASOAC and there is NROEC. This year, once again, we are fortunate to have APNIC Chairman Paul Wilson. Paul, if you acknowledge us. Thank you. Vice Chairman and Secretary is Alan. Treasurer is Axel. Axel, are you there? Yes, thank you. And members of ASCAR and John Karan. ICANN board seat 9 election was one of the activity. Election process 27 October to 9 May 2018. 4 candidates from 3 regions. One of the candidates withdrew from the election process. Ron Da Silva from Erin region re-elected to serve another 3 years in ICANN board. New term starts at the conclusion of ICANN 63 in Barcelona, October. Congrats, Ron, if you could acknowledge by standing our greetings. Thank you. Now we are underway for ICANN board seat 10 election. It will start this week on 15 September. We expect that announcement of elected candidate be made in somewhere in April 2019. Seat 10 is currently served by Asia Pacific representative Kinori-san. Nominations called to be published in all regions except Erin early next week. Why it is except Erin? Because Ron is from Erin. And one region cannot, ASOAC cannot select 2 persons from the same region. ASOAC appointments to ICANN constituencies. there were a CCWG Accountability Work Stream 2, Fiona from EFRINIC, and Jorge from LACNIC. WS2 final report is now published on June 24, and probably the activity will be over. And of course, thank you ASO for nominating me for NOMCOM 2019. ASO activities in brief, we have been observing, We have been observing each RIR's policy forum if new global policy proposed. Now, once the policy comes, there is a process of policy proposal, facilitator team to take it forward. And there are Fiona, Brajesh Jain, myself, Jason, Jorge, and Harvey as part of this policy. Now, just to take you forward, ICANN appointed ASO review, and dialogue is taking place in the community in happening in other regions. And yesterday there was a full session, so I'm giving a short summary of the same. The ASO review process started under the co-chairship of Aftab and Izumi. September 2017 was first consultation during APNIC 44 in Taichung. Reviewed items report, 18 recommendations, accepted 1 to 17 recommendations, straightforward. On recommendation 18, non-status quo options were to be considered, and working group was established for APNIC region with, of course, co-chairs as mentioned. NRO launched RIR-wide consultations, recommendation 18 in the other RIR as well. NRO EC and ASO AC released joint response on ASO review in February. Second consultation during APNIC 45 in Kathmandu. Strong support for a two-house ASO. September of now, NROC proposed inputs to RIR consultation. Third consultation during APNIC 46 at Nomia, that is here, which was yesterday, and before, added Simon Barai as a co-chair. Simon, you're there? Because Izumi, because of a personal situation, will not be able to physically be available, present. Discussed NROEC proposed input to RIR. Started a public survey for feedback from the community. I urge each one of you to respond to this very important survey. Here is the URL given, and of course QR code is also there. So is there any timeline Aftab for this? Or I suggest we vote as soon as possible, but.
Hello. Thank you. Aftab Siddiqui. We will provide the update later in the AMM.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. But I still urge that we each of us responds, and that will give the broader input. Now, whatever I have mentioned, they're all activities. They are available at aso.icann.org. And I am available for any questions as the chair permits. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dinesh, for the update.
Thank you.
And our next speaker is Tina Morris from ERIN, and talking about ERIN PDP.
Hi. Green button? Okay. So I was asked to come speak about how we do policy development in the ERIN region, specifically how we use an advisory council rather than working group chairs. So, green button? Oh, the big green button, got it. ERIN is the North America Registry of Internet Numbers. mission statement. The important part of this is we develop policies by the community for the management of internet number protocol. The community is really the key element of our entire process. The Advisory Council represents that community. It has 15 members. They serve 3-year terms, 5 open seats per annual election, so there's always a chance for turnover. We have a variety of backgrounds in this group of 15, some technical, some legal, some policy development people, small organizations, large organizations. It's a really dynamic group that represents our community. We all review policies, and I'll walk you through our process, but it's an important group that we can come together and work on the policy development process and also be accessible to the community. It gives 15 more faces that represent the policy, that can explain it to somebody that's coming into the community, that can be available to discuss a policy in more detail in a hallway conversation, to help bring an author that may have an idea and be nervous about presenting it themselves. The ACE can help them formulate their submission and talk them through the process, and it brings more ideas to the community in many ways. We're always trying to adhere to the principles of resource policy. It must be fair and impartial, technically sound, and have community support. So every policy that we review must meet that. We have concept of authors. The authors are the originators of the policy. They submit it via email template. They sometimes work with an AC member if they're not familiar with the process, or we have many former AC members or just members of the community that have done several of these that will help the author. The author and the Advisory Council work closely together at the beginning of the process. I'll walk you through the policy development process steps just to kind of show how the Advisory Council works through this process. I know you're not that interested in submitting policies in the Aaron region. First, the author submits a proposal, or first they submit a draft, and it comes in as a proposal. They can come from anywhere. They don't have to be a member. They don't have to be anything. They see something, they want to address a valid problem in the NRPM, our Number Resource Policy Manual. Once it's received, it comes to the Advisory Council Chair, who assigns shepherds. We have this concept of shepherds, which is 2 members of the Advisory Council take on primary responsibility for any policy. They work with the author, they make sure they understand the intent, and they present it at meetings. Once it's discussed, the Advisory Council meets face-to-face 3 times a year. We have a face-to-face just Advisory Council meeting in January, and we meet face-to-face at each Aaron meeting. The rest of them, each month we have a teleconference, and that's where we discuss the policies and move things forward. We also have a mailing list internally to discuss the policies. When it has a valid problem statement and it's within scope, the shepherd will move to make it a draft policy, and then it enters our docket, and at that point, draft policies are presented at meetings. We discuss all draft policies on PPML, which is our mailing list with the community, and that feedback is brought to the Advisory Council in our teleconference. When we finally get a policy to the point that it meets the 3 principles and it has community support and all that, it becomes a recommended draft policy, which also requires a vote and then goes back out to PPML and must also be discussed at a meeting. So there's a ton of transparency in our policy development process the whole way through. The Advisory Council is shepherding the policy, but it's really just a representation of the community. Eventually, if it goes to another meeting as a recommended draft and we still have community support, it'll go to last call, which is another chance. It gets announced on our mailing list, and at least 14 days are available for anybody in the community to give further feedback or object or support the policy. At that point, assuming that all has gone well in last call, the advisory council may recommend for the policy to go to the board for review. And implementation is the final step with staff. That's kind of the summary of it. I find personally the advisory council system is great because it lets a lot of community members get involved. There's a great deal more accessibility to the process. Our former advisory council members still serve very actively, come to the meetings and help and write policies, and yeah, it creates a little bit more community support. So I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any. No? Oh, yes.
Brajesh Jain here. May I request you to give 1 or 2 key points which are the hot topics at this moment at ARIN?
So we actually just finished a ton of policies. We only have, I think, 5 active ones now. So I'm trying to think what is actually a hot topic right now. ASN transfers, being able to transfer an ASN from one region to another, and who is database cleanup.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sanjay from APNIC. Just a question. Would the shepherds actually have to take a position themselves against or pro, or are they just being neutral but carry the proposal through?
We try very much to keep it neutral and represent what the community feedback and not advocate particularly for a policy or against it. It's kind of you receive the input from the author and you present it to the community kind of as is and try to be as neutral as possible with it. That said, sometimes we don't get we think it's really good for the community, but we're not getting any support. So a shepherd may have to go out to the mailing list and try to poke and prod the people that they think would support this and would benefit from it, and try to get them to understand that they kind of want this. But that's just another way to try to get feedback, because sometimes silence can be interpreted as implied consent, but it can also be they just don't understand it applies to them. So we do advocate for a policy in that way, where we really try to engage the members that it would affect.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If there is no more questions, thank you very much, Sharon, for volunteering and updating us about ARIN policy development process. So we'll now enter into the policy discussions today, and our first proposal we'll be discussing is Prop 118, no-need policy in the ethnic region. I must mention that we were discussing this policy in the earlier meetings, and the author changed in the last meeting. Lu Hang wanted to volunteer and continue with the policy, but unfortunately he couldn't attend physically. He is joining remotely, but on behalf of him, Anne Vivian Paris she'll be presenting no-need policy in the ethnic region.
Hello. How to remove the slides? Just press his phone background. Hello, good morning. I'm Anne Vivian Paris. Today I'm speaking on behalf of Mr. Hanu, who is unable to come to this conference due to private reasons. The proposal which I'm going to discuss is, as you see, Proposal 118. So before going into details, I would like to give you a brief idea of what I'm going to talk about today. So please take a look at this slide, which is the outline of today's presentation. There are 3 main parts of today's presentation. I first discuss the problem statement, and then move to the objective of policy change. For reference, I'll bring into the situation in RIPE region. Later, I will talk more detailedly about the proposed policy solution. At last, there will be a Q&A session which you can feel free to raise any questions. The current situation in APNIC region regarding the transfer of IPv4 address is that recipients need to demonstrate the need for IPv4 space they intend to transfer. In other words, that's what we call need policy. The need policies is in accord with regular policies which are designed to fairly distribute the limited pool of IPv4 space. However, the need policy is not actually working. Why? Because large providers pile up resources instead of using them. On the other side, it's difficult for small enterprises to get these resources. I will explain this in 2 points in details further later. So what I want to say is that not every member is treated equally as small enterprises are leveled out under the current policy. So before going into details, explain the reason, I would like to ask a question first. Is need-based really working? Take a look at these graphs. They show the amount of resources acquired and owned by some of the biggest cloud providers in our region. The data is from the beginning of this year, which shows the amounts of active IP addresses versus the amount they actually own. The data comes from IP.net, which is one of the biggest IP database provider. It is quite obvious that there is a lot of unused resources in both APNIC and Orange Service region. This means that a certain group of stakeholders is merely accumulating IP addresses instead of utilizing them. Hence, the need-based policy is not really working. So this is the situation in mainland in China, while this is the situation in the West, I mean Europe and America. Now let's move to the point. How does the current policy pose as a hindrance and a help for small company to transfer so as to enable them to enable the growth of their networks? The answer is quite clear. To demonstrate the need for transfer is costly in terms of time and resources. Unlike big telecoms, which already own a lot of resources, small enterprises usually struggle for addresses, and the current policy poses more as a hindrance for them to develop their own network, and even for some of them to enter the market. By removing the need to show need, the current proposal can make transfer simpler and smoother within APNIC region. I would like to address a concern here first, which is whether small enterprises may also pile resources if need-based policy is removed. This situation is very unlikely if we think about the market price of IP addresses now. Around the high current market price of $20 to 25 per IP, it's very unlikely for small enterprises to have the purchasing power to pile up IP addresses. In this sense, the only party which is able to pile up IP addresses are big cloud providers, as they have the capital to do so. Small enterprises can only purchase for what they really need. Apart from this main reason, which I've just explained, another benefit brought by removing need policy is data accuracy. And as a firm believer of the bookkeeping analogy by the former Right Chair Rob, I believe that data accuracy is not only the core function of the registry, but also the top priority of any other pros and cons. The original policy needs to decrease in the incentive for users to transfer through the official channel. What I mean, that's the existence of black market. Although we cannot disclose the information, as I've said, some cloud providers prime their resources by having private agreement to transfer resources later. This shows that the no-need policy can actually prevent the priming of resources, while also decreasing the accuracy of the database. By contrast, with no-need policy, the cost will help to increase the accuracy of the database. Furthermore, if we take a look at RIPE, we find that RIPE has already adopted no-need policy, which indeed increases the efficiency of transfer. On the other hand, ARIN has a very complicated and strict need-based policy, but is also where some of the biggest cloud providers, which they pile up their resources in the ARIN region, and they are very unlikely to use them all in the foreseeable future. In this sense, RIPE's example shows that no-need policy clearly works. If APNIC also adopts the same policy, it can for sure make transfer easier and more efficient within APNIC, as well as between APNIC and RIPE. Well, last but not least, the need policy is also, in a sense, economic, as it can reduce the administrative cost of APNIC. So now I would like to explain briefly how the proposed policy works. The following policy task was literally copied from RIPE tasks without any significant modification. There are three situations with transfers. First, transfer within APNIC. Second, transfer from other RR regions to APNIC. And third, transfer from APNIC to other RR regions. First, transfer within APNIC. APNIC shall accept all transfers of internet number resources within its service region, as long as they follow policies. No need demonstration is required. Second, transfers from other RR regions. For regions that require the receiving region to adopt need-based policy, recipients must provide a plan to APNIC for the use of at least 50% of the transfer resources within 5 years. Third, transfer to other RR regions. APNIC will follow the transfer policy that apply within its own service region. APNIC will also comply with the commitments imposed by the receiving RR in order to facilitate the transfer. So to conclude, shortly and precisely, I think the current proposal benefits the development of network within the APNIC region. It takes care of the interests of small enterprises, which is an attempt to strike a balance with resources owned by big cloud providers. I hope you will all think clearly and carefully before making up your mind, as it does very great matter to the development of APNIC region. I sincerely hope you will support the consensus of this policy. Thank you very much for your very kind attention.
Thank you, Paris, for uploading. And is Lu Heng online with us?
Yeah, he will answer the question remotely.
Okay. So before opening the mic, opening the floor, I just mentioned that we have got some feedback on this proposal from the Japanese Open Policy Forum, and there is some question about that. I understand that you have revised the policy proposal based on the comment in the APNIC 44 meeting. Would you please share us the reason why you add only the following paragraphs in the version, that is the proposed policy solution? When transferring internet number resources to another IR, the ethnic will follow the transfer policy that apply within its own service region. And the ethnic will also comply with the commitment imposed by the receiving RIR in order to facilitate the transfer. And there is some opposing argument like that. In the past 12 months, only a single transfer was refused by the Secretariat because of recipient was unable to demonstrate need. More fraudulent transfer might occur if there is less analysis by the Secretariat. Especially, so these are the concerns actually raised by the Japanese community. So you may answer these queries. But before going that, I like to open floor for the community. Please come for the mic if you have any questions, suggestions about the policy. Floor is open. I can see Vivek. Please.
Yep. Vivek from APNIC. I'd just like to get a clarification on the statement that says APNIC will also comply with the commitments imposed by the receiving RIR. So what are these commitments?
Luheng, are you there?
Yes. APNIC will comply with the requirement which imposed by the other if the entire in case of entire transfers. For example, everyone needs will require you have demonstrate need, then we will impose a 50% utilization 5 years to comply with that. That is what's the sentence trying to say. If that answers your questions.
Okay. Basically, once we approve a transfer, if it's going out to another RIR, it's up to that RIR to do the checks. So that's what I'm trying to clarify. Is there any additional checks we need to do after we approve a transfer?
There is no additional check from APNIC side. It's totally up to the receiving RIR or the receiving RIR in that case. If we initiate transfer, then totally up to the receiving RIR to decide if that complies to that policy. There's no additional check from the APNIC Secretariat side.
All right. Thanks for clarifying.
Thank you, Vivek. So, Aftab?
Aftab Siddiqui, speaking in the personal capacity. So, we have been discussing this policy for quite some time. This is not the first time we are here. In the past, I said it quite loudly and quite clearly that, and on the basis of statistics provided by the Secretariat, that they haven't rejected a lot of requests on the basis of needs. But I do agree that a lot of transfers are made on the false, providing a false information to justify the need-based policy. So I totally understand that it is not creating any problem. So I don't have any objection in this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Aftab. Mr. Bajish?
Brajesh Jain here. No, actually, there is a need-based definitely should continue because as we are seeing that RIRs, especially at APNIC, is not rejecting many such policies. And that argument that cloud service providers are able to get more IPs, so by making it a no-need basis, that risk doesn't go away. Because in that case, companies can be formed and IPs taken. So in that sense, my personal view is that RIRs should continue to have need to be established by the applicant to take up the resource. Thank you.
Thank you, Brajesh. George, you want to come up with some remote participation remarks? Okay. I think after we can continue.
Yeah, so I just need a little bit of clarification from Secretariat further. So what I can recall from the last discussion, even if we go with this policy, if we accept this policy, Secretariat still has the authority to reject a transfer if they find something wrong with the transfer. It's not like that we are only removing the need-based criteria, but still they have the authority to reject a transfer if they find something wrong with the process or with the applicant.
Can I clarify?
Yes, Luang?
Yes. After you're absolutely right. We only remove the policy check of this particular of the transfer process. We are not to remove any other checks which should be in place for example, the document if it's legitimate or not. If the recipient have legitimate hold of the resource, if they have authority to transfer. So we're not approving fraudulent transfer application. We're not approving a fake transfer, not at all. So all the other checks which in the place should continue as it is. There is no removal of that part. It's just a policy part.
Thank you for the confirmation. Exactly. It would be great to hear from the Secretariat as well. Thank you.
Sanjay, on behalf of the APNIC Secretariat, yes, we do other checks than just needs. For example, if a new member, so if a transfer is sent to a new member, for example, and this new member appears to be like just a bogus company, then we would not create the new members, basically. So that transaction will fail because, we can't check whether the company exists or, all the other sanity check that we do to new members.
Thank you, Sanjay. George?
Hi, this is George from APNIC policy staff. Just wanted to clarify with either Aaron or RIPE staff about whether this will affect inter-RAR transfer compatibility. If anyone would be able to answer that.
Lou, you want to answer these questions?
Yes, sure. Of course, that will not affect any transfer capabilities. The text is literally copied from RIPE policy text, and Aaron is accepting transfer from RIPE and to RIPE and from RIPE. So I don't think there is any reason for Aaron not accepting transfer from APNIC to APNIC. The specific text is basically if the counter IR have a need request, then we do a need test of 50% of over 5 years just to complement that. And that is exactly what RIPE been doing for past.
We're losing your audio.
And John Curran himself in RIPE meeting said that is compatible before RIPE passing the policy. So it is compatible with all the regions who has the entire transfer policy at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Kenny Huang?
Kenny Huang, Executive Council of APNIC and CEO of Tiramic. Speaking on personal capacity, basically I have received no objection from any of our members regarding to the need basis policies. And according to APNIC need transfer record, basically we're running the same policy for quite some time. Still all the transfer goes very smoothly without any problem. So I suppose we maintain a status quo as a need basis policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny.
Nicholas Pediaditis from the RIPE NCC. Following George's question, just to confirm that no matter which direction this will go, it's not affecting inter-area transfers with the RIPE NCC.
Thank you.
Parhar from NetPlus India. What I can understand from this policy is that there is a concern that transfers to cloud-based operators is happening, which is what has caused Heng to get out this proposal, and then it is a matter of transfers by APNIC. Now, probably to lay the fears at rest, I think a little more detailed response might be needed from APNIC. Whether such cloud-based transfers have they come across, because probably then the fears of the author would be lessened, and the policy can then move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Parr. Is there any more comments or feedback? No. Okay. So, Aftab, please.
Hi, Aftab Siddiqui again. Just to clarify a couple of things. One, we don't do policy development just to make sure that inter-RIR transfer will remain as it is or not. Second, forget about the objectives presented in the policy proposal. Just read the text and see if it is in line with our policy development process or not. So the objective, I don't agree. The cloud transfer was pretty accurate. It's not. So just read the text. It will be much better to understand.
Yeah, thank you, Aftab. We must definitely look into that. And still we are getting some, difference of opinion here, but what you mentioned that inter-area transfer, I think from RIPE representative said that there is no issue on inter-area transfer of this policy. So Paul?
Hi, Paul Wilson from APNIC. I just thought it might be useful to add a couple of points of data about the current APNIC membership and IPv4 resource status. This is really for information of the audience, but we had you'll see some of this in coming reports. So in this afternoon's Secretariat reporting, some of this will be revealed, but I just thought I'd mention it here and now. After the initial transfer policy, we found, which had a needs basis and it had a restriction on subsequent transfers of 2 years. We found that after the 2 years, when the 2-year time elapsed after an allocation, we did see a spike in transfers. So we saw quite an increase in the number of transfers being done at that particular time. So there's definitely evidence that for whatever reason, resources are being received by members and then transferred as soon as possible after the 2 years has elapsed. That's one thing. The recent policy change that extended the 2 years to 5 years seems to have coincided with a slowdown in the number of new memberships that APNIC is receiving. So you might also assume that there's been a disincentive to join APNIC in order to receive new resources because of that extended timeline. So that's another data point. The other thing that may be of interest here is that we've got approximately 1/3 of the remaining 103/8 address block, and that's going to last at the current rate of allocation about another 2 years or less. So to the extent that these things are relevant to the type of transfer we have, needs-based or otherwise, those facts might need to be taken into account. And I'm not sure that I've seen that yet in this policy process, or whether the audience is, the community is interested in those points. Thanks.
Thanks, Paul.
Guang Liang from APNIC. Just to give a bit more information about the transfer data, like we have proceeded over 1,000 market transfers since we started the policy. And of course, some of them is large transfers from the cloud service. They lead the IP address. We also have data centers and other different type of internet providers. Actually, they lead the IPv4, not only the cloud, but the cloud service is part of it. Yeah, large cloud service, they lead large part of IP address. This during our evaluation, we can see that. we don't seem to have like a problem for those members. They want to receive IPv4 to have very difficult to demonstrate their lead. As long as they can provide the lead, and then we normally will be able to proceed the transfer.
Thank you. Is anybody has to make any comment on the policy? No. And I will ask the Secretariat for the last time that if you have any reservation of the text, on the text and how actually it's written, and any clarification you need, any more clarification, if yes, please, you can ask any questions, if any left. Vivek? You got answer of your query? Yeah, thank you. So I think we can move for a consensus call for this policy, and you can. Okay, you can sit here. Thank you. So, and we will be, and for the remote participants, you can share your views by confer. If you want to log in, please log in immediately, and. We are now discussing about Prop 118, no need policy in the ethnic region. First, I will ask that if you strongly support this proposal, should we go by this sequence? Okay. Okay. So, if you strongly support the proposal, please put your hands up. Okay. Thank you. You can put your hands down. And if you support this proposal, please put your hand up. Okay. 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 Thank you. If you're neutral about the proposal, now please put your hand up. Sorry, you want to say something?
Okay, it's working now. Sorry. I just want to give some time for the people to join the confer if they need before we call the consensus process. The URL is confer.apnic.net. If you want to join, register, or you have a login, you can log in now when the chairs call for consensus process. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So I'm starting from where I were. So if you are neutral about the policy, please put your hand up. And if you are passing remotely, please send your opinion via confer. Okay. Thank you. So now if you oppose the proposal, please put your hand up. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. So now if you're strongly opposing this proposal, please put your hand up. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we can see a mixed opinion, but we have some time to discuss. So I will request those who are actually opposing strongly, can you just come forward and share your views? What is your concern about this for strongly opposing this policy? It will be very helpful for us actually to, if we can go with it. Can you make a comment that strongly opposing? So we need to get this feedback actually, so that we can have the proposer to actually improve the policy. You can make a comment here.
Just for me, from what I've seen, I just haven't seen any strong statistics that it's not the needs policy is not working. So I kind of agree with this guy, what you're saying.
Okay. Thank you.
I think the problem statement is saying that one of the statements saying that the cloud, this kind of like unfair to the cloud providers versus the small market. But I think as long as both entities that they have a need, then it's valid, because let's say, for example, now the trend of the internet is the IT companies or they move outsource to cloud. So the cloud doesn't really need an IP address, so this is also a need basis. So as long as, both a small ISP, a new market, when they go to a new market or existing cloud providers, because they also need a need. So I think it's not a fair and consistent policy that if they need IP address, as long as they can justify, because cloud company, they also have a reason that they need, because they have a VM, and then if VM, we need an IP address, right? So things like that, I think we need to consider. As long as the root of the problem is a need basis, right? So as long as the company need to really can justify they have a need, no matter they have a giant telco, they are a internet cafe, or they are a cloud providers, or they are just a normal enterprise companies. I think this is something that is the root of how do we define a need, because it doesn't mean that someone that who own a lot of IP address, they don't have the need because they need for growth, right? For example, something like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Hi, Alejandro Guzman from the LACNIC board, but acting in a personal capacity. Looking at the presentation of this proposal, I think it lacks of very important things for a policy to be good. One is that the statement about the problem is wrong. This policy doesn't solve the supposedly problem with the cloud providers getting more addresses or something like that. This is not going to solve anything about that. The other statement about that this will help small providers to get what they need is also wrong, because the statistics show that only one request have been denied and the rest have been able to get what they need. So there is no problem to solve. The statement is wrong. The information about the possibility of solving a problem is also incorrect. So I don't think there is enough base to support a proposal like this.
Thank you very much. Mr. Parra?
You know why there is a little confusion in minds of a lot of people as to which way this proposal should go. It is, I feel, because of lack of information. Now, when a proposal is getting finalized and where you are asking people for support or strong support or no support, before that, a roundup of this complete proposal should take place, which clarifies the mind of everyone, whether they are in the room or remotely watching, which says policy proposal point 1. So whatever is the issue which has been raised in point 1, response of APNIC, it is necessary because there must be some facts which had been quoted. So whether those facts are correct, incorrect, or additional facts, APNIC will come out with that. And thereafter, any strong point which has come up during the mailing lists should be listed. So the proposal is run through like that. That is when the whole thing will become a little more clearer. Probably that is what will be required by the policy SIG to do.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Very good suggestion, actually. And I must say that the policies are in the list for quite some time. And unfortunately, we didn't see much discussion there, except I should thank the Japanese community. They have actually discussed it and they come up with the feedbacks in the mailing list. Apart from that, and we didn't find any much discussion. Otherwise, we could have actually come up with some of the objection clarified in the mailing list discussion. So, and we could have discussed here last time and come to a concrete conclusion. And so I will encourage everyone actually from the proposer to submit proposal a bit early so that people get opportunity to discuss, and also members to give your feedback in the mailing list. Aftab, please be brief, we are running out of time.
Aftab Siddiqui, I don't have any question on the policy, just need a clarification from the chairs. Are we looking into Confer as a decision-making app?
We are looking at Confer. Definitely we are considering Confer feedback, but we are definitely looking at the feedback from the room and also from mailing list, everything we are trying to consider actually.
So the consensus will be drawn on the basis of Confer, mailing list, and the people on the people in the audience right now?
Right.
I have serious objection on Confer. We have dealt with some issues in the past, and I seriously oppose it, not to use it at all. Thank you.
We have got, there's some incident on that, but we hope that we want remote feedback, remote participation. So thank you very much for the suggestion, and please also suggest in the mailing list that how can improve it actually, so that we can encourage remote participant to join into the policy discussion. Mr. Brajesh, it should be the last comment here.
Okay. Thanks for giving the opportunity of being the last. Brajesh Jain here. Now, there are 2 points here. Number one, my impression was that in the earlier meeting, it was said that Confer would give the sense of the on the people. Number two, one of the points it was mentioned that there is a lot of cost and required to apply for the and process. So, if there is any specific difficulty, we can contact the APNIC secretariat. If there is a point which is either delaying or leading to too much cost, but as I understand, there is neither delay nor the lot of cost involved for a new applicant other than establishing and stating that what is the need. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brajesh. I discussed with my chairs and looking at the feedbacks, we can say that this proposal didn't reach consensus in this meeting, but I must mention that in the earlier meeting it has a strong objection, but this time I think we have got some support for that, and I think and there is some objection about the clarity and some lack of information into the proposal. So I will request the author to come up again in the next meeting with some more information and more clearly, and we should have some earlier discussion into the mailing list so that we can really come to a decision here. George?
Just a quick comment from Izumi online. She's saying the suggestion by Perha is a good point. Aaron conducts secretariat analysis for proposals and presented at the meeting.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Izumi. So I'll call the end of this session, and we'll resume after a tea break with the next, I think we have 2 or 3 more policies.